Hi there, my name's Vince from mymatevince.com, and in this video today it's another trying to fix video, another video where I've bought something off eBay and I do my best to repair it. And I say this in all the videos and I'll say it again, take this purely for entertainment. I have never opened up one of these before. I played something similar when I was a child, but I don't really know anything about it and I don't know how the insides work. So don't take this as a how-to video. This is just how I go about trying to fix things, but a lot of times it will be wrong. Here it is. It is one of those toy car simulators. So you can see the car moving along there. Looks like we've got indicators here, on and off, and a little gear stick. Counter reset. Oh, looks like, oh, look at that. Pop-up lights. Who doesn't like pop-up lights? Check that out. I quite like that. I had a BMW 8 Series years ago that had pop-up lights like that. Best feature. Right, okay, let's see what batteries this thing takes. So it's the big fellas. It's going to be, yeah, there's a D written on there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I need to get 4 D batteries. Now, before I plug it in, and not plug it in, before I put the batteries in to see if it's working or not, this is the listing. Okay, you can see there, vintage turbo 8 driving simulator, spares or repair. It was up for £9.99 and £5.55 postage and packaging, but it was best offers and I put an offer in at £7.99 and it was accepted. So you can see there, just says up the top that the accepted your offer of £7.99. So in total I paid £13.54. And it says, good write-up on it. It says vintage driving simulator game, headlights, indicator and backlights work. However, motor doesn't appear to work properly. Could hear it working at the beginning but doesn't appear to function now. Could be as simple as some new stronger batteries, but I haven't got any to test. Not sure if this had sound or just the sound of the motor was the sound effects. You may know more than me. Great nostalgic piece. See photos for best description. Any questions? Blah 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 blah. Right. Okay. So this is going to be an interesting one. So let's get some batteries and let's see what's happening with this. Got my batteries ready now. Looking around this, there doesn't seem to be like any maker's mark on it. It says made in China, but there's nothing else on here. It just says alkaline energy batteries in here. So I think the original one that I knew when I was a child would have been Tomy, because I definitely remember this when you were allowed to bring toys in on the last day of school. I definitely remember somebody brought this in and everybody was wanting to play this. But this particular one I think might be a kind of copy of it, because it's not really advertising anything about itself. So I reckon the original one was out in the 80s, but maybe this one might have been quite a bit after that. I'm not too sure. But then again, by the 90s, there's no way I don't think kids would have been interested in a toy like this, because it's going to be quite basic. So I would still say that this is probably the 1980s. But I'll try and find out a little bit of information about it online later on. Well, that one's a little bit loose. Let's try to push that one out. There we go. There we go. Right, okay, let's see what this thing does. So let's turn it on. So to begin with, if you have a look here at the tacho, can you see it's going up mechanically? So that's got nothing to do with the batteries. So that's quite nice how it works. And it says there, was that 20 miles an hour? 60 miles an hour? 100 miles an hour. That's pretty good. You've got a reset here for here. You've got a fuel gauge as well. So maybe this all goes down. And we've got lights here. So let's turn it on and see what happens. Right, so nothing's happening there, but there is a little bit of light here. Can you just see up in this bit here? If I turn it off, oh no, there's not. Is there? Hold on. No, there's not. I think I can see a faint glow. I can see a faint glow just in here, but it's not coming up on the camera. No, I'm mistaken. I think it's just a light coming through. Right, so nothing's happening there. Let's turn the lights on. Right, nothing's happening there. Oh, okay, the indicator light does come on here. So the indicators work. I don't think these lights are working here. Oh yes they are, look. Very faint. Right, okay, they do work, but they're very, very faint. Still kind of nice. Right, let's take it apart and see what's happening with it. So the car moves mechanically, so that's got nothing to do with the electronics. But whatever it is that makes the electronics work is not working. So obviously there is a motor in there and it's not doing anything. So maybe it's a problem with this thing here, or maybe it's a problem with the motor itself, or it might be gears or something feeding the motor. But we're not getting any sound, are we? So it doesn't sound like the motor is even trying to work. Let's take it apart and see what's happening with it. Now looking at the screws, it does look like there's one missing from here. So maybe it's already been opened, or maybe it's just worked loose throughout the years. So let's try and undo every single screw. Wow, I cannot get this thing apart. What is keeping it together? Right, okay, here we go. I don't know why that just suddenly went then. Right, there's a bit of sellotape there, which might not have been there originally. Wow, there is a mass of wires here, isn't there? It's a bit of a flattened wire there, but it still looks like... It doesn't look like it's a complete break. Or maybe it is. Can't tell. Not sure if it's crushed or not. See that little red wire? There, so that's been crushed, but it still might be okay. In fact, let me just quickly test that, just in case it is as simple as a broken wire. Right, so it goes from here to here. Yeah, that's okay. Right, let's see if we can work out what's going on with this. So we have the car here that moves mechanically like that. We have, so there's a motor, there's obviously a motor in here, also there's a fuel gauge. Where's the motor down the bottom? Oh yeah, there's a motor down here. So we know the switch works because when we turn it on the headlights and stuff come on. It's pretty interesting on the inside. At the moment I can't work out what's what. So we've got this thing here. So this is the road. So there has to be a light in here as well. Somewhere. Has to be a light somewhere. Right, so this thing's to turn the lights on. We know that works. This is all... how does this turn up here? Oh, that just must fit into... This must be just like a mechanical thing that fits into something else. We've got the screen here which is like frosted. Right, nothing is jumping out at me as dodgy in here. There doesn't seem to be any obvious broken wires. So I'm thinking it's going to be something to do with the motor. And I can definitely see that both wires are connected to the motor. If you have a look down the bottom here, you can see a red and a brown wire go into the motor just in here. So I think we're going to have to start dismantling it to see if we can work out what's happening. Yeah, you know, looking here, I'm thinking maybe it has been opened before, because if you look at the solder here, that just doesn't look very good. See here. No matter how I do it, there's a wire under strain. Right, okay, well that's freed up now. So this one here, that's broken, goes to the bad solder, so I need to remember that. That goes there. I'm not sure where the light is on this, where it lights up from. Oh, here we go, there's a light in here. I can just barely see a light bulb in this bit here. Can you see it just there? In there. Okay, so I don't remember that light working, so we need to check that out as well. Actually, we should be able to check that again for continuity, shouldn't we? And the grey wire goes off to here. Yeah, so we've got continuity, so that says to me that that light bulb should be okay. There we go, that frees up quite a bit of room now. Let's take this apart and see what's happening in here. Wow, we got loads. Okay, now how am I going to work out what's going on here? So we've got that lot there, and we've got all this lot here, which just seem to be a bit everywhere. I've got to be careful now, otherwise I won't get this back together. It's pretty complicated. Right, so what's happening here? They're all over the place. I really don't know what's what. I think they need to go into this one here because there's no real grooves here. What I need to do to begin with is we need to find out what's happening with this motor, see if the motor's working or not. I wonder what this thing is here as well. I wonder what that is. Empty. It's empty in there. So what's that for? And there's no wires connected to it. Weird. Right, it's a lot more complicated than I thought. This is reminding me of doing that armatron with all the gears everywhere. It's a lot more complicated than I thought it would be. I don't know what voltage this motor is, but let me just pop a battery on it just to see if it does anything. So I've just got a wire from the negative there. Let's touch this against the brown and see if it spins. Yes, it does. There you go. Right, so the motor's okay. Yeah, the motor's okay. So it's definitely not the motor. But it does, the motor, the other side of the motor does go off to this thing here. I wonder what this is down here. Let me undo that. Right, so there's a contact there. There's a contact there that then goes onto this little board here. Right, okay. Could it be a dirty contact there? They don't look too bad though, do they? In fact, I wonder which contact it goes onto, because we have a couple of resistors there. So it goes onto the very first one. Right, so it goes onto the first one here, which is just a brown wire going to here. So what's the point of having the resistors going onto these other two? So basically we have the brown wire coming from the batteries, so it's sending voltage to here, and then it goes via the red wire to the motor, and it's contacted on that one there. But we have two resistors going off to these other two pads. The other two pads have solder lumps on them. So I wonder what is the purpose of them. Strange. Oh no, look, it's when this gets moved up. Oh, of course, obvious. It's the gears, isn't it? I know you lot would have been shouting at the screen there. So when you plug this into here, it's moving up the gears, which is moving this thing, which is moving, slot it into place. So basically it's moving this forward like that. And when this gets moved forward, it's moving this up through these notches here. So that's what it's doing. So we have the off, 1, 2, and drive. Why is it drive? So it looks like there's 3. Actually, there's 4 positions, including the off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Okay. So when it's at the very bottom, that's going to be up. So it's going to be there, isn't it? So maybe there was a bad contact here because this thing did look bent round. So let's try to straighten this up like it would have been done originally, because it looks like there's a kink in it. Maybe this is the problem. Maybe it's to do with this contact here. Do you know what? I think it might be. That needs to go on there, and that needs to have quite a bit of force against there. Yeah, so the one at the top must be off, and then the 2 resistors. So we're going to have 1 speed, then it goes to the other resistor. So then we've got 2 resistors on it, so that's going to be 2 speeds. And then the last one's just the brown wire, isn't it? So that's going to be full speed, I'm thinking. Right, so I should be able to see if they're making contact by just using my multimeter against the red wire off the battery and each of the contacts here. So if you have a look here, you can see that there's like the chrome contacts. So I'm just going to be going across them, 1, 2, 3, 4, just to make sure they're making that contact. Yeah, it is making a connection. It was a little bit hesitant. I'm gonna take this out again. I'm gonna pop the batteries back in and see if the motor turns when I move this up and down, because it should do. Right, so let's turn the key on. Right, so we've got the lights lit up there, so it looks like our light switch is on wherever that's gone. Remember now, there we go, that's off. So let's do this thing now. No, so it's not, why is it not sending voltage through to here? Because this should be quite simple, shouldn't it? Should be able to work this out. So we've got the brown wire from this battery compartment here. So first of all, let's see if we've got voltage on that brown wire. Let's go to DC volts. And hold on now, that's why. Am I going to get it if I go from here to here? 1.5, 1.5, 3. So I don't know how it's been wired up. But anyway, we're getting, so we should be getting voltage on this one here if I go between here and here. Yeah, -3. Let's do it this way round. So that's 3 volts to here. So when I put it through to this one, let's see what this one measures. Yeah, 3 volts to there. So we've got 3 volts going into the motor. So if I go between here, if I go between, oh okay, oh it's going off now. It's going off. Right, so it's working there now, look. Yeah, but not on the next one. Oh, look, it is here. It's a bad connection here. That's faster. There we go. It's the problem here. Right, let's take this out and let's do a proper job. So we need to stretch it out much further. Yeah. Yeah, not happy with that last one. You can hear it's coming and going a bit. And also if you look at the brown board here, it is bowed a little bit out in the middle. So it's going to be easier on the middle ones. If you have a look. There you go. So I'm going to have to, yeah, I've got more room to push that out, so I can push that out further. So that's what I'll do. Yeah. Okay, so I've got a little bit of soldering to do. I've got to solder up this wire here, which is about to break. I also need to solder this orange wire back to here. And now all my gears have come out here, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge. I'm 100% sure that that is the fault there. There might be other faults, but now I'm going to have to try and get my head around this, because as you can see, everything's just popped out of its place, which is not good. So that's going to be a bit of that's going to be hard work trying to get that back together. Maybe I should do that before I do any of the soldering, because it would be easier for me to do it now. Bit of a jigsaw, but I think I've got it back together. So they look like they go there, but I'm not 100% sure yet. And then it goes over to this side here, and there's just a load more gears doing all sorts of different things. At this moment in time, I don't know what they are doing, but I need to try to get this up onto here. I'm wondering if I should put some grease in it now, or whether I should do that later. So I don't even know if these are in the right position or not. I think I'll put a bit of grease in there now, it's not going to do it any harm. Oh, this one's falling out here now. I wonder if I can get it back in without taking it all apart. Yes, I can. Yeah. I think I'll take the risk and see if anything happens. So I'm going to turn it on. And I'm just going to hold the wire against here to see if it does anything. No. Right, okay. Looking at this one here, I can see there was a lot of glue on it, and it wasn't smooth when I was twisting this one here. There was friction between here and here, and yet the motor spins fine and this one spins fine. So what was happening is there was glue in the teeth here. So this has been taken apart before, because you can see that there's all glue at the bottom of this one here, and we've got the classic thing where just the old plastic is cracked. So if you have a look there, can you see this top one here? You can see it's cracked there. So what would have happened is this would have just been spinning freely on here. So I'm going to see if I've got a replacement one of them, because I have got a bag of gears. Okay, so I've changed this one out for this one here, and this is a nice tight fit on it. And now, I mean, it's pretty noisy. I think it's ever so slightly bigger than the last one, but if you listen, it is going round. So let's put it back together now, and let's see if that's gonna work. Let's see what happens with it now. So turn it on. Put it on the first one. Let's tap this here. No, nothing. Nothing at all. Okay, I've obviously got them misaligned inside. I didn't think it'd be so hard to fix, if I'm honest with you. This gearbox is a bit of a nightmare. Right, okay, even the motor now is hit and miss. I don't know whether it's the motor or whether it's the connections. Yeah, this is starting to remind me of the Truckertronic. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take apart this motor and see if there's anything I can see on the inside that doesn't look right. Yeah, quite a lot of crud again if you look in there. You see around these contacts here, it's very dirty. So let's give that a clean up. Yeah, we'll give it a clean, and it might perform better afterwards. There you go, you see there's a lot of grease on that. Right, I'm just going to get some IPA on those contacts now, but look at the amount of stuff that's come off that motor. So that would have hindered the performance of it. Right, I've just noticed that there's a red lead here that's come off somewhere. Okay, I'm not sure where that's supposed to go. Oh, this is really becoming a bit of a nightmare. Maybe I should look back at the video and find out where things go. Okay, right, I didn't watch the video back because I noticed that this switch here is no longer connected, so obviously this must go in here, so I need to get the soldering iron out and do a bit of soldering now. Okay, so I've soldered the wire onto there, I've soldered the wire onto there, and yet there's still nothing happening, so I'm just going to check to see a few things. Well, now we're going. Do you know what? I'm wondering if it's a bad connection on here. I'm going to resolder these because these look like they've been glued on. Yeah, so the wires were just glued on, they weren't actually soldered on. So a repair's definitely been attempted on this, which is understandable. It's been around for a while. So I'm going to put a bit of watch oil down inside here, and then I'm actually going to put watch grease in these bits here to fill up those bits. So hopefully the oil will get inside and then the grease will just sort of sit on top. Right, now I'm going to get a bit of sandpaper and make this gear a tiny bit smaller, because compared to this one it looks like a fraction of a millimetre needs to come off it. So I'm going to get the sandpaper, turn it on and just let it spin. Yeah, that looks okay to me. They look the same now. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is put it all back together, exactly the same as I did before, and we'll see this time if it is actually going to work or not. Right, let's see if it's going to do anything now. So turn it on. Oh, nearly. Yeah, there we go. But then it starts skipping. So I have to work out why it's skipping. That's not turning either. I wonder if this is going to be another one of those truckotronic ones where all the gears are just slightly out. See, I thought it was going to be an electronic problem over here, but now it just seems like it's slipping, doesn't it? Right, so it's definitely spinning all the way to here, so we have to work out what's going on in this inside bit here. we have to take this apart again. Right, I'm going to change this worm gear out as well, because again this has a break right the way through it. You can just see the line there. Okay, the problem we got here is this gear is just freely spinning on here. Again, because it's cracked. So this is the same thing as the Truckotronic, that truck that I tried to fix where I had real problems. So again, can you see the crack there? No, I don't think I'm going to have one of them. Let me have a look. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some super glue in the crack, and then I'm going to squeeze it with the pliers and squirt the activator on it, and then I'm going to put more super glue where it meets the axle, sprinkle some bicarbonate of soda, which is the same as baking soda, and then hopefully that might give it a little bit of strength. I'm going to have to do the building off the glue from this side, because the other side needs to rest on that bit there, so I can't have it bulked up with glue because it's not going to sit in that kind of groove properly. It's starting to strengthen up nicely now. I can still turn it though. Right, it's stronger than it was, but I can still turn it. Let me keep trying to build it up. Okay, so you can see what I've done here. It looks a mess, but I've just been building up the inside of it there, because I can't do this side because there's a plastic groove that it fits into. But as long as the gears can still fit this side, which I'm not sure if they can or not, but as long as they can still fit there, then it should be okay. Right, let's try it now. Nope. Yeah, so obviously where I've super glued it, because it's wanting to go when I do that. When I super glued it, I must have made that connection too big now. Very close to giving up, if I'm honest with you. It's just reminding me of that Truckotronic that I did, and I'll be honest with you, I can't take doing anything like that again for another good few months, and that was only about a week ago. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some super glue in the crack, and then I'm going to squeeze it with the pliers. Level 1, it's reading 0.89 volts. Level 2, 1.1 volts. And level 3, 1.4 volts. So you can see that's how it steps up. So there's definitely voltage going into the motor, but it's not moving because everything is seized up here inside in the gearbox. Well, I'm going to take it apart again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop filming for the moment because I'm just going back and forth. The original problem was the fact that it wasn't making a contact here. That's why when I turned it on it wasn't making any noise. But now there's just a multitude of problems again in the gearbox because the plastic gears have cracked and they've got old. So I've already replaced two of them, the worm gear and this one here. When it comes to that bevel type gear, I couldn't replace that because I haven't got one to replace it with. The nearest one I've got is this one, which is massive, and I've also got a smaller one somewhere, but it's still not small enough. There you go, this one here is still far too big. So I'm going to take it apart and just try to free it up. Okay, I'm slowly starting to get there, but most of the time it needs a kickstart. But watch this. There. Next speed. And the next speed. And for the light, if I hold it on there, the light is actually working, so that just needs to be soldered. But it doesn't work every single time. And also this fuel gauge isn't working here, so I need to work on that now as well. Well, I'll get there eventually. Definitely starting to make progress now. If you look at this gauge here, it says 0.5. But the problem is a lot of time the motor needs a kickstart. So, okay, so that's going. Can you see it's counting up? And also this needle will work its way across. That's one speed. Next speed. And then that's the top speed. Well, actually that needle now isn't actually working. See, I've got a problem with this gear down here as well, where I changed a worm gear. It's loose. Yeah, see, there you go, it's seized up now, look. And it needs a bit of a kickstart. Right, now it's working, and the needle will work its way across. Very temperamental though. It doesn't look like it, but that needle is slowly moving. So that it's touching the screwdriver now, and now it's not. So touching it now, and now it's working its way away from it. The problem I've got is when it's back together, I won't be able to give it a kickstart. So I'm still working on it, but you can see I'm definitely getting closer. Okay, so I've been working out a way to get this fuel gauge to work consistently. I need to put a bit of pressure down on this thing here because it's worn on the plastic. And now listen, there's something wrong with the gear on the motor. Oh, so it's like one step forward and 2 steps back. I've got to take it apart again and now find out why the gear, I presume it's broken. Oh, this thing is really, this is not fun. Okay, it wasn't too bad. Basically this white little thing here had just moved ever so slightly down. Now I'm hoping once I get everything aligned with this fuel lever and stuff, I'm hoping then I won't keep putting more strain on it, and then it might just work and not keep straining and forcing the gears around the place. Okay, so I've soldered back on the light now, and at least the light works. You probably can't see it there. If you have a look closely here where my finger is, you can see it comes on. So when it's all dark, it's going to be a lot more noticeable. Now it's working okay. It's not too bad. This counter's really hit and miss because the whole thing relies on that tiny little black gear to go against that white one, and yet when I move the steering wheel around the place, it's moving this around the place. So I'm not sure when I put it back together whether it's all going to align or not. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back together and then see what the problems are, because I am making progress, but I'm still not 100% sure about a few things. So if you watch this now, okay, sorry, turn it on here, the light comes on. So sometimes I have to start it in a more powerful gear to get it going, and then I can, for example, turn it off after that. So that's definitely moving, but right now that counter's not moving. But if I do that, it is moving, or if I do the steering wheel there, you can see it's now moving. But the whole idea is that you're supposed to turn this, but I'm wondering when it's all screwed together if it's going to start working. So it's quite late at night, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break from this for a bit, and then come back to it when I feel more like doing it, because I'll be honest with you, it's been a bit of a traumatic one, this one, just like the Truckotronic. Right, see you shortly. So now before I put it back together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grease up a few bits around the place. So I'm going to grease up this thing here, because this looks like it moves left and right when it's working. And then a few of the other bits of plastic and stuff, I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on them. Something is confusing me with this here. If you have a look, if you move the steering wheel, can you see this back section here is moving? And I put grease in there and stuff. But look, what is this front bit for here? It doesn't seem to serve any purpose. So I thought, if you have a look here, it looks like that this bit needs to clip on to this bit here, like so, because it sort of fits nice. But then, you can't move the gears. You can only move the gears to 1 and 2. You can't move the gears any further. And look, can you see it's putting a strain on that bit there? So I don't know what the purpose of that is, and even if it was to stay in there, what's it going to do over here? It's not moving anything. That doesn't make any sense to me, this one here. Doesn't make any sense at all. So the only way it works is if that's unclipped there, but then, look, it doesn't do anything. So that's what I'm just trying to work out at the moment, what that's for. Right, okay, I've worked it out. Do you remember this tacho up the top here, which is moving when you move this thing around here? Can you see that the yellow line's going up? So obviously something needs to move that. And if you look, there's a bit sticking out of it just here, and that needs to go into this bit here. So what I've had to do is, I've had to just move this around to this bit, because I took this out, and when I put it back in, I put it in the middle, but it needs to be right the way over this side. And now, I haven't put it back together yet, but when I move this up now, you can see it's allowing me to go more. And what that will do is that will move this along, which will then move that tackle along. So if you have a look now, see it's moving over. Yeah, so that's what that's for. Okay, I'm glad that makes sense now. Right, okay, the problem I've got is it doesn't look very light at all. It looks really, really dull. Really dull. Yeah, I'm not sure if that bulb's bright enough. It seems very dim. Very dim. It's very blurred. But it doesn't say 2 volts. I reckon that's 3.9 volts. 0.8 amps. I think that this has been soldered up to the wrong one. Because if it's only reading, I think it needs to be reading 3 volts. It's only reading 1.3. One above it reads 2.8, but then when I turn it off it reads 1.5, so it's always going to be lit. I don't know, I'm not sure. Everything else is reading voltage even when it's turned off. So maybe this just isn't close enough to... Maybe it's just not close enough to the very edge. Right, I'm just going to have a think about if there's anything that I can do with this light. Is there any way I can swap it over with something else? Right, so I had this old torch that had a bit of a dodgy on and off button. It doesn't always work. So what I've done is I've taken the bulb out of it and I've just put it onto here, and I found out, I put it straight onto the wires, and I found out it was a little bit brighter, but not too much brighter. So then I thought maybe if I put them both together, although I know it's still the same amount of voltage going into it, but maybe then I can kind of angle them so that they get pointing in different directions, then it might give a little bit more light. So you can see it there now. So I'm going to pop this in and see what it looks like. Okay, so I've got 2 lights in here now, and I think it might be better. So let's get it together and let's see what's happening. Right, okay, let's just give it a very quick test here and then we can clean up and give it a proper going over. Right, so let's reset that. Lights are on. Are they working? Yeah, they're on. Let's try the indicators. That's on. That's on. Now, Yeah, I think it's a bit brighter than before, but it's still very, very faded. But let's turn the lights off because it's very bright in here, and then let's see what it looks like. Right, okay, that is it. Finished at long last. Now, I did give it a good clean up. I've had to dim the lights right down so you can see it. But it's come up clean. It has come up clean. And at this moment in time, everything is working. So if you look, we've got a reset here, fuel is full, and then as we go along to empty, it will actually stop the thing from spinning round. So I'll be honest with you, I haven't enjoyed this one because I'm just sick to death of mucking around with small white plastic gears that have cracked. And it's just so much work. Really, the inside of this reminded me very much of the Truckotronic, and you know if you watched those 2 episodes how much hassle I had with that. But I have to give it respect, it is actually very complicated on the inside, and again, one motor is doing everything. So it's moving this, it's moving the fuel gauge, we've got the different speed control here, we've got the lights, flip up lights, and also we've got the tacho here as well. So it's kind of clever. So if you look at the tacho here, you can see it moving up there to 100 when we get all the way to the very top. Yeah, let me just show you what it's like. So let's turn it on and just show you the lights so you can see there. To be honest, that's my favourite part of it, the pop-up lights. I think that does look good. Yeah, that's nice, that is. We've got the indicator here. Shame it doesn't flash, but I suppose that would have taken a circuit. And let's turn off the pop-off lights and reset here. So here we go now. So we're off. And there you go. You can see now we have to follow the road round. The thing is, when you go to hit another car, it doesn't make any difference. So basically, you can do what you want. You don't actually crash. It is just a driving simulator. Let me turn the lights right off. Right, so now let's go up a gear. Actually, you can't see my car now. Up again, so this is top speed now, and there is a difference, and if you have a look, it's counting up here, and also the fuel bit by bit is actually moving. So it's kind of clever, it's just that the game itself is rubbish. Actually, I've just worked something out. When you go off the track, it makes a clicking noise, and also the counter stops counting. So listen. So the counter has now stopped. Ready? So in the middle, the counter moves, and then you go off the edge, and the counter stops. Okay, so I thought I'd broken it there for a minute, but I haven't. It's just the fuel had gone to empty, so it needs to be reset before the screen will start working again. So now I understand it. I've actually got more respect for this, because beforehand I thought you could just do this all day long and it wouldn't make a difference. It does. The objective of the game is to get the highest score possible. So if you were playing this with your brother or your friends, what would happen is you would reset it so the fuel's full, you would start it off, and basically you would try to stay in the track. Every time you go off the track, either to the right or the left, the counter stops working, so you're not getting a higher score. Now, the faster you go here, the faster the counter goes up, so you have more chance of getting a higher score, but the problem is you're going to have more chance of going off the track as well. So now that I know that, I could see that you would get a little bit of enjoyment out of this if you were maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years old, especially with the way it looks as well, because it does look nice. And you've got to remember, this is very old now. We're talking about something that was probably maybe 1986, around that sort of time. So if it was 1986, you're looking at something which is about 32 to 33 years old. So actually, you know, it's pretty clever on the inside, and the game itself is okay now that I know that you can do that, because now you can beat your personal best, can't you? Stay in the middle of the track and don't go off the edges, and then, you know, if you get 50 one time, next time you might want to get 51 or 52. So yeah, I like it more, but I still don't love it. I still think it's quite a boring game. But obviously, it's not made for somebody of my age. It's probably designed for maybe kids under the age of 8 or something like that. So yeah, that's it for this video. Normally I would have enjoyed doing this one, it's just that because I spent so long doing that Truckatronic, mucking about with gears and gearboxes, then I didn't dream this would be another one like that. So if I'd done this in 6 months' time, I probably would have quite enjoyed it. It's just that because I spent a day and a half doing it only less than a week ago, I really didn't want to be getting involved in any broken plastic gears and gearboxes again. And unfortunately, apart from the contacts here, that's what the problem was. So the contact here was the reason the motor wasn't working, but the reason it wasn't doing what it needed to do was because there was one, two, I think there was three. Yeah, there was 3 cracked gears, wasn't there? And I managed to replace 2 of them, and I glued up the 3rd one. And now it is working okay. The lights are not great, but maybe they were never great. If you were really into it, possibly you could change that light bulb out to maybe an LED or something like that, and that would be a lot brighter. But then again, what's the point? It was designed with that dim screen, I'm pretty sure. So maybe even just putting a new light bulb in there would do a better job, because the one I put in is only very faint because it's a 3-volt one. There's only 1.5 volts going into it, and the existing one, I don't actually know the voltage off that one there. So there's things you could do to make it better, but personally I'm not going to do that. I bought this purely for the video. My children are too old for this now. I've got zero interest in it. I just thought it would be an interesting one to see the inside. And to be fair, it is interesting because it's all run from the one motor again. So it's pretty clever how the inside of it works. So that's it for this one here. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe for more Trying to Fix videos. Take care. Bye now.